Hey guys, it's me Astrid, and I figured I would share some of my semi-hydroponic growing successes with my orchids because a lot of you guys are asking for updates on the orchids I put into semi-hydroponics. A lot of you guys are curious about it. I get a lot of questions, so I thought I would show you what is growing well for me in semi-hydroponic. And so I've pulled some plants, and you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different genera here. So there are a lot of different types of orchids that are doing really well in this growing method. And I just wanted to show you those and talk about them. So I hope you enjoy. First off, as many of you have seen, is this Cycnodes Wine Delight. This is in the Catasetum alliance of orchids, I guess. It's like Catasetinae type orchid. And it is just beastly. Now this orchid was dormant, so all it was like was this about 2 months ago, and it's put out this new growth in 2 months, as is typical for this kind of orchid. But it's also filled this pot up with roots. It's pretty mad. They're going like all the way down every side of the pot. Everywhere you look, there are roots. One thing I will say is that I am noticing, this is my first year growing Catasetinae type orchids, I'm noticing that when you have this in semi-hydro, you have to water it quite regularly when these guys start going into really active growth, because there's only this much water and this sucks it up really fast. So semi-hydroponics is working so far really well for my catasetums. However, I'm wondering if a more water retentive medium would be better, and that might be why people grow them in sphagnum moss, but so far so good. Okay, and a lot of these are recoveries too that I want to show you. So this is my Ivanagara apple blossom. As you can see, it went through some bad treatment. These canes are so shrivelly and sad looking. Oh, so bad. But the newer canes are pretty fat, getting big. Nowhere near as big as they should be on this orchid, but doing a lot better since I put it in semi-hydroponic. I want to clarify that semi-hydroponic isn't some magic way of growing orchids. I want to say that it's a way that works for me. So when I put orchids in this method, I can take better care of them as Astrid, the orchid grower, not as everyone else. So it works for me, and that's why I'm talking about it. We have a little spike coming up here. Can you see this little guy? See that? I'm excited. There are a couple other spots that might be spikes, I don't know. We've got new growths coming in a few different spots and roots coming down. And you can see around the side of this pot there are some roots coming down the side and filling up the pot. And there's even some roots on the bottom under here. So this orchid is in the Cat Leia alliance. It also likes this kind of growing method. Here's the orchid that I lost a tag for, but it's a spotted Cat Leia type orchid. It's putting roots all down this pot here. That's actually glue, not a root or wax. It has roots down into the bottom of the pot again, and it's just throwing out roots like mad over the top, going down into the medium. So even though this is a Cat Leia type, Cat Leia types like to dry out between waterings, or so people say. This orchid is doing pretty well for me in semi-hydroponic. The cane shriveled a bit, but this new cane is nice and plump all the way around. It hasn't lost or shriveled at all yet, so I think it's doing pretty well. Before I go on, I also want to say that a lot of people ask me, what about the roots that grow in the water? What happens when roots grow down into the water? And as you can see, a lot of orchids have roots that have gone down all the way to the bottom and sit in water all the time. And my hypothesis is that roots grow into the environment and adjust to the environment that they grow in. If a root grows out the side of your pot and it's been in open air and just gets misted sometimes and you pot it, it might not do well because that's a wild change in environment. It's going from being mostly dry to wet. If a root grows down into the water, it wants to grow there, and all of my roots that are going in the reservoirs are doing just fine after weeks and months. So roots growing into the water on these doesn't seem to be a problem. One more thing about the roots before I go on is that I read on Ray Barkalow's, one of his posts on Orchid Board, he said that a lot of orchids that are in semi-hydroponic and have their roots rotting is because the temperature inside the pot is too cold. These evaporate up the pot, and so with evaporative processes, temperature goes down. So sometimes the inside of the pot can get too cool, and sometimes our home environments are already on the cool side for a certain type of orchid to grow. And if that's the case and then it gets even colder, the roots are going to get too cold and then they'll rot. This is an open airy medium, so it shouldn't be suffocating roots at all. If they rot, it's probably due to cold temperatures. That's according to Ray Barkalow. You should check out his website, firstrace.com, to learn more about semi-hydroponic orchid growing. And I'm not affiliated with him, I just love his method. Now, here's my Brassicatlia benosa cross Brassavola Little Stars, which has been named as Brassicatlia Green Bird. Darn you for naming it before me. This one has been sitting doing nothing for almost a year. It just kind of went blah because I didn't know how to take care of it. I didn't know what was going on, and all the roots died on this thing. And I said, okay, what do? I put it into semi-hydroponic and I waited. Treated it with Super Thrive, waited. Well, now what we have is this old growth here. It had only grown out this far and it sat there for months. When I put it in semi-hydro and it started putting down roots, it grew from here all the way up to here. Also, we have nice fat roots coming out of here. We also have a, where is it? A new growth there. Can you see that? So this plant is gaining momentum, as Danny would say. It's getting on a roll and it's putting roots down in this and it's making a nice recovery. Okay, on to my Sadirah Japonica, or a Phalaenopsis type orchid, because I think these are Phalaenopsis japonica or whatever. But anyway, this little gal is doing great in semi-hydroponics. She's putting out a new leaf. She put out this new leaf. It's almost as big as the old leaves, so that means I'm doing something right for her. And check out the roots she's putting down. Look at this. This root wraps all the way around the side, and this other root wraps all the way through the bottom of the reservoir. So it comes down here and it goes all the way up the other side of the pot. It's doing great. It's got a root coming out here and another root in the front that is about to go down into the medium. So Phalaenopsis types also do well in semi-hydroponic. This is an orchid given to me by my friend Alex. It's probably Dendrobium Berry Oda. It gave me one little tiny flower so we can guess at what it is, but yeah, probably Dendrobium Berry Oda. And he put this in semi-hydroponic before he gave it to me. It's been in this pot for just few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and it already is putting down loads of roots. This kind of potting method, orchids like to put their roots down, they don't get rotten. It's doing really well. And finally, I wanted to show you a Vandaceous type that's doing well in semi-hydroponics, surprisingly. Now, I will tell you that my other orchids from Moats, well, I actually only have one other orchid from Moats potted in semi-hydroponic, but one is doing really well in it, and one is doing poorly in it, and I'm showing you the one that's doing well. The one that's doing poorly, I believe, probably needs just more humidity, but that's another discussion. I want to show you what's doing well in semi-hydroponic today, which is basically everything but like 1 or 2 orchids, by the way. We've got Vanda Miami Velvet cross Miami Mandarin, and it had a high-class certificate. Now this one has put down a root here. It's like this ugly root that's hard to see, but it's coming down right by that hole there, right by that drainage hole, and it's coming down. It's also expanded some roots into the pot. These were old roots that I thought were going to die, but they didn't, and they decided to branch off. Also, this root has come out since I put this orchid in semi-hydro, and I'm trying to tape this so it doesn't crawl out of the pot and it goes down into the medium, but it's also forming a little branch right here. So this orchid is actually doing pretty well. You can see another another root branching somewhere in here. But this orchid is also doing well. So all in all, I am really happy to have my entire collection of orchids growing in semi-hydroponic right now. It's not the perfect method, it's Astrid's method, it's Ray Barcolow's method, it's whoever uses its method. And if it works for you, then that's phenomenal. And if it doesn't work for you, that's also fine. But for me, I really, really enjoy this method. It makes it easy for me to recover sick orchids. It makes it easy for me to not overwater. It's basically impossible to overwater. It makes it easy for me to see the roots, and it makes repotting very, very easy. So, all in all, really thrilled with growing orchids semi-hydroponically. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you liked the discussion. I hope it was useful, and thanks for watching.